Hi guys, welcome back to the third episode of the Rerun Podcast. Just to quickly say, we're really glad you guys have been enjoying these. We've had a good amount of positive feedback and some really great constructive criticisms, so we're going to keep making these for you. This podcast is going to be a little special as we have our first proper guest, a fellow kind of watch YouTuber, Xavier, also known as the Night's Watch on Instagram and YouTube.
Hello there.
How are you doing, man? How's things?
I'm great. You know, it's a little early over here in the US, but you know, it's fine. People are up and can't complain.
I do appreciate it.
No, of course.
Makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
So as I said, you're the Night's Watch on Instagram and YouTube. I thoroughly recommend everyone goes checks them out.
Appreciate it.
I guess let's start with what you're wearing on your wrist, because that's sort of a obligatory thing.
Yeah, just kind of everyone does it, so you have to.
You kind of, yeah.
Yeah, today I'm wearing my Seiko Sard 007, which is an enamel dial Seiko. It's kind of a lesser known model, but it's just really cool, really unique. Fits pretty well.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on Instagram and people really seem to like it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like a little bit of off the norm for Seiko, or at least not as many people have it. So when they do see it, they're like, "Wow, that's actually pretty cool."
Yeah, I was actually really surprised by the enamel dial, and you got some really great angles on it.
Oh yeah,
which we'll have to put up.
It's really cool because it has a retrograde counters on it, so it has these sub-seconds or like sunken in sections in it. It's really cool. Plays with the light really well.
Yeah, they make the most of the enamel. It's great.
Oh yeah. And yourself?
So I'm wearing my Omega Chrono Stop.
There we go.
I took it off the mesh bracelet and I put it on kind of the more rustic. It's kind of a rally strap with stitches. It's pretty fun.
Fair. Are you liking the rally strap more?
I got the rally strap first, and then I got bored of it, so I put it on mesh, and now I've gone full circle.
There we go.
Yeah, which I always do. But I think they're both good pairings.
Fair. You know the life of the collector.
Yeah, we had a little like mini heat stroke here, so I couldn't really wear leather straps. But now it's kind of cooled down.
Right.
So I'm back on leather straps again, which is nice, you know.
Yeah, leather's always comfy.
So tell me a bit about your YouTube. How long have you been doing it? How many videos? I don't know. I know you have nearly 1,000 subscribers at this point.
Almost. I think I'm at like give or take 960.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you know, getting there. I think I've been doing it for a little over a year now. Basically, one day I basically go through a lot of watches. I think in the past 2 or 3 years, I've owned maybe in the realm of 70 different watches. So it's been quite a lot. And at some point, I was like, you know, I watch all these YouTube channels. I get all these watches in. I'm a young guy who's into watches, so might as well record some videos. And the beginning ones were a little rough. The backgrounds weren't great. I was in my dorm room trying to do it, and it's gotten slightly better over time, which is good.
Yeah, I think.
But I don't know how many I have in total. Maybe around like 20, 25.
Right. Okay.
Sure.
But it's kind of, so you kind of did it as a project to kind of document your watches, and share some of the more unique ones you have, like that Seiko you're just talking about.
Oh yeah, completely agree. And for me personally, I feel like as a collector, just in general, I gravitate towards pieces that not a lot of people usually go for, or at least more unusual pieces. So it's kind of nice because it's a break from the norm for YouTube. It might be a piece that no one's ever reviewed, or a piece that not many reviews are on. So it's nice to just give another take for people who may be interested in it.
Yeah, that's a great kind of ethos to have, because it's so easy to crank out videos on like, and we've kind of avoided doing the whole, you know, 5 affordable watches under $100 sort of thing. You know, we've kind of it's a bit cliche, and a lot of people have done it. So we've tried to go in different directions, which people seem to like, and people clearly like it when you do it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like great. I'm never gonna do this whole, you know, like listicle thing, like top 10 or top 5 or best watches under 1,000. I'm just mainly doing reviews and talking watches.
Yeah, nice.
And I just counted. I have like about 40, 42.
Videos.
Yes. Yeah.
Geez, nice. I don't know. I want to have a podcast at some point where I talk to people about the process of making watch content.
Okay.
But I don't. Maybe we should talk because we're both young guys.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. We're both at university.
Yep.
Obviously on different sides of the world.
All right.
So yeah, I think it's really interesting being a younger person in watches. Like even like if you're under 25, you're really
Yeah.
niche.
It's just kind of not your world in a way.
It's a weird. And I've like sold watches to people personally, and they've gone, "Wait, how old are you?" And you're like, "Oh, 18, 19." And they're like, "Oh, okay." But you know, if you're doing well and you're, I guess, respected enough, your doors open. It's really nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like my feedback history on Reddit's like crazy good. So like I can sell any watches. I mean, I just sold 2 watches for a friend, a Tudor Black Bay, and as well as a brand called LaVenture, which I never have heard of before, but they make some really, really cool pieces.
I trust anyone who has a Black Bay, so he clearly has good taste. To be honest.
Fair.
So you've been doing YouTube about 2 years. When did you start collecting?
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for about a year, and then collecting maybe 3-ish, 4-ish years.
Okay.
Yeah. It really started as kind of, I don't know why, but apparently my mom just said even as a child I would just gravitate towards like little watches that were on a shelf. So
right, yeah.
I guess at some point I was just always into them. And the earliest memory I really have of wearing a watch is maybe 5th grade-ish, so maybe somewhere around like the 10, 11, 12 age. I had this little tiny watch, and I believe it was on a bund band or maybe just a regular thick leather band, and it had a little skull on the face of the watch, and I thought I was the coolest kid in the world. But
nice.
That watch was pretty fun, and then I either stopped wearing it or I lost it. So I didn't wear a watch for a while, but my dad always had this quartz Zodiac Sea Dragon that just sat in a change drawer and got all beat up by change and keys and all this stuff. I don't know why he never wore it, but it was really nice because it had these really nice light blue and dark blue color plays on it. So I was always kind of attracted to it. And when I got into high school, I started researching watches more, discovering YouTube channels, discovering Facebook groups. And basically, school wasn't too hard for me, so most of the time during school, I was just watching videos and looking at Facebook. So
I was kind of the same. I was kind of a predicted A grade student.
Exactly.
And I ended up getting like Bs.
Oh, there we go.
But, you know, I got some A's, but not the ones that I really should have. But yeah, I can relate to definitely. I guess we watch YouTube by default. That's kind of our first place we go to.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like that's how a lot of people just fall into the hobby because, you know, maybe you are wanting a first watch for a certain amount of money, or maybe you just want to, for some reason, research watches, and, you know, these YouTube pitfalls just, appear and you just go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like, I was never a forum guy because I'm too young.
Oh yeah, myself.
But a lot of older collectors I know really were.
Yeah.
I still use forums if I like really need to find some information or on some rare watch. But it's funny that now it's just more of
an old guard thing.
Yeah, and it's really useful and really good for the community, I think. But I think really to reach and kind of get more people into the hobby, YouTube's really where it's at.
Oh yeah.
And Instagram, of course.
Yeah, for the longest time, I didn't even have an Instagram. And I was just kind of like one of those young kids who was just like, yeah, I don't do social media. But when I started my YouTube channel, I was kind of like, I probably need an Instagram presence. So that's kind of what got me to start an Instagram in the first place.
Right. We kind of did it the other way around with this channel. I have like nearly 3,000 followers, I think, on my personal account.
Must be nice.
And then I started. Yeah, I've just made lots of friends.
Right.
It's been kind of a long thing. And then I had Rerun, and that was supposed to be to sell watches, and it was honestly just a failed project.
Yeah, fair.
So like I had the page and I had like the branding and my friend group, that does this podcast with me and helps me out, kind of Gabe, Chip, Tib, Ben. We'd always joked about doing a podcast and how it'd be just really funny to just talk about watches because we're so young and kind of give a different spin to it. And then because of lockdown, we were like, oh, we should probably just do this. And I had the most free time.
Right.
So I ended up kind of figureheading it as Rerun.
There we go.
So that's like Instagram's a really great platform. I think Reddit and Facebook are also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Instagram's more, I would say, friendly, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I see way more arguments on Reddit and Facebook, and
yeah. And I feel like Instagram, there's just higher quality of pictures. You get to reach more people. And again, with Reddit and Facebook, you get more of the kind of people who believe they know everything and try to convince you of that. So not always the best place. And I used to be really, popular, not popular, but I would get a lot of likes in a Facebook group, one of the biggest watch Facebook groups, if you know what I'm talking about. And I would just post there every day, but kind of stopped doing that because don't really love the group anymore.
Yeah, I feel like being able to, because your own watch page on Instagram can kind of be like your own group.
Yeah.
And it can kind of end up being, and especially when you like I always tag all my friends on my posts, so they always see it. All my watch friends, I should say. My regular friends do not care.
There we go.
Which is great. I've kind of built like a nice little friend group through Instagram, and I think that's kind of harder to do on Facebook as well.
Oh yeah,
because it's always your personal account, and it's like, I would rather have my own. Yeah, I'd prefer having a personal Instagram and then a watches Instagram, and that's really what works best for me.
Yeah.
And then Reddit's just really good for. I mostly use it for selling. I've posted a few of my watches up before, and especially being the younger guy and what I wear with my watches, because I think I posted a picture of like me, and it was my Tudor on a grey NATO strap, and I was like wearing a hoodie.
Right.
And it was like a wrist shot. You could tell I was wearing a hoodie, and like so many people got so angry.
Wow.
And it was just kind of hilarious. And I posted on Instagram, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's cool." And like it was way more positive, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people get too wrapped up. I think especially in just what watches go with what outfits. Like it always bothers me personally when people are just saying, "I would love a dress watch, but I'd never dress up." And for me, I mean, I wear a dress watch to do everything. I used to have a 34mm Young Hands Max Bill, the hand wind version, and I literally played basketball with that watch with my friends in shorts and a t-shirt. So
yeah,
I used to have a Orient Star Classic, and that's not. It's a dress you're leaning watch, acrylic crystal and whatnot. And I cleaned tables doing that. I took out trash wearing that watch. It's not as pigeonholed as people like to believe, especially if you put it on a nice NATO or a nice rubber strap or something like that.
Yeah, you can find, I think, more versatility than people think, or people want to believe, I guess.
Right.
And you get really strong reactions either way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, to be honest. But hey, people feel that way, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know, I always wear tall watches because I do things like climbing and more actually risky sports for watches.
Right.
I think if you're just playing football, you really don't need a CWC G10 like I have.
No.
You could wear like an Orient and it would be fine.
Yeah, as long as you're not bumping into anybody too much.
Yeah, my only, like, if I fall off a climb and I swing into a wall and bash my watch, I don't want to mess up a dress watch. That's like a legitimate thing that could and can happen.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, it's just, and if you consider the watches that went up Everest are like 34mm Oyster Perpetuals, which everyone would call a dress watch nowadays. It's like, just put things into perspective, and it's an interesting conversation to have, I guess, with people.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair enough, even though that's the watch they went up to Everest with, if they had G-Shocks available at the time, they would have just used the G-Shock.
True, but I do feel like sports watches have overdeveloped for like 99% of people.
Right. No one's going to go down 1,000 meters or even 200.
Yeah, no. Like I have a dive watch that's 200 meters rated, but I dive like maybe max 20 meters.
Exactly.
Which is plenty to have fun. You know, I'm not deep sea doing like deep sea oil rig stuff.
Right.
I'm just sort of pottering about a coral reef. You know, I could probably do it in like a Timex weekend if I really wanted to.
Fair.
Collection does lean more dressy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which I think suits you. But I don't know. Do you know why that is? Do you know why?
I think just in general, I do just tend towards dressy. You know, I love a good polo. I feel very at home in a suit, and I sell watches, so when I'm at work, I have to be wearing a suit. So basically, I just like the dressier style. I like how clean they are. I like how simple they are. I usually like how thin they are and comfortable they are. So it's just something that I gravitate towards for some reason. I've tried tool watches. I've tried, you know, I used to have a Tudor Pelagos.
Oh, nice.
And that's basically as tooly as you can get, you know, barring the price. But, you know, I didn't mesh completely well with it. But yeah, it's just always dress watches for me. And it's something that I think just looks good on the wrist, fits my smaller wrist well, usually. And yeah, I just like the classic styling, really.
Yeah, we both have pretty small wrists. I'm not. Mine's 6.5. I don't know what yours is exactly.
Mine's also 6.5.
Okay, cool. So, but I tend to go kind of just. I lean vintage to get smaller watches that fit me. But you collect. You have a lot of modern stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I have a vintage Omega coming in from the UK right now.
Exciting.
It's been stuck in customs forever. But
yeah, we've had issues.
Yeah. But yeah, no, almost all my collection is modern. I only very rarely go into vintage, basically because it definitely can be a minefield. And also with vintage, you'd never know how much servicing is going to be, or if it needs to be serviced immediately, or things like, or will there be an availability of parts in a couple years?
Yeah.
But I've had a couple vintage pieces. One of my very first pieces in my regular collection was a vintage Omega Seamaster, and I got it for maybe like $300, and it was a pretty nice model. It had like a 369 numeral on it, or 36912, and I believe it was 33 millimeters. So it was really on the small side, but it fit well. It looked nice, had a nice patina on it. But I ended up selling that one because that's kind of what kickstarted my whole buying, selling, flipping thing.
Yeah. I do tend to have that habit as well of I don't really want to. Well, I can't afford to just buy everything and keep everything. And I think the best way to actually build out a collection is to try a lot of things. And, you know, if it sticks, keep it. If you're not happy with it, find something else.
Yeah, that's 100% what I went through. I mean, one of the first watches I bought myself was the SARB 033.
Nice.
And it's a great watch, but I think for a long time I tried to convince myself to like it more than I did, because it straddles this line between very dressy but also very casual. And just for me and my personal taste, I don't think it leans hard enough into dressy for me to enjoy it. It tries to play the best of both worlds too much. And for me, the case is a little too thick. The dial was a little too, or not enough. What's the word? It's not elegant enough in a way.
Right. Okay.
So for me, it was a little too toolish for a dress watch. So I kind of just ended up selling it and going on to other things.
I kind of had the same experience with my Sabo 33, and I got it, made the video, and I think maybe it was too dressy for me. It was weird. Like I totally get what you mean by trying to do both, and it's kind of for me not 100%. But for so many, I actually gave it to my dad for a while, and for him it was perfect.
Right.
But I think just because we're so specific as collectors, it just didn't work for me, and it was a bit, felt a bit big, and it just wasn't quite there for me.
Yeah, I feel like especially at the size, it's like a little unrefined, basically because I'm used to smaller watches.
Yeah.
And I feel like, but for most people, for the general public, it works perfectly well because I feel like a large majority of collectors are kind of dive watch, tool watch oriented.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once they get a dress watch, they would kind of like the one that straddles both lines.
Yeah, it's kind of a good way to dip your toe into dress watches without
100%.
going really small and without going vintage and without, having really fragile lugs or something.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty beefy case and pretty. I agree with the thickness point, especially. That kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
Despite being, it's like pretty much the same dimensions as my SKX, and actually thinner.
Yeah.
But the SKX works so much better for me. It's weird.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny. I never got along with the SKX, which is definitely kind of a point of contention in the watch community because it's such a beloved watch.
Which ones have you tried?
I've tried the regular black bezel version. I believe that's the 007.
The 007, yeah, the bigger one.
I've tried that one. I've tried the 013,
right?
The smaller version, and then right now I currently have the Islander from Long Island Watches.
Oh yeah, right.
Which is basically the exact same SKX 013 case because I got the 38mm version. And I'm okay with the watch and I would like it, but for one, the Islander in specific has a very weirdly undersized crown that really hurts to use.
Oh, okay.
And then on top of that, again, it goes back to the thing where the case is a little too beefy, a little bit too tooly for my personal aesthetic tastes.
Yeah, I get that totally.
Yeah, because I feel like the SKX in general is a very toolish tool watch.
Yeah, no, it completely is. And when I got mine, I was actually by a Facebook group. I was really told to get a 007 because they were like, "Oh, I know it's bigger, but you can change the bezel and make it feel smaller." And there were all these like weird arguments and points. But I actually completely prefer the 013. And I said this in the video I made on it. It has nicer hands. It's maybe not quite as well proportioned, but I think just the size, those few millimeters, really help for me. Yeah, with our smaller wrists, So I really love mine.
Agree.
I just got a watch in that you probably really like. I just got a Movado Subsea. I don't know if you saw my story, but
no, yeah, I saw that on your story. It's really nice. I mean, I really respect vintage Movado. They made really cool pieces, especially they're like I believe they made some pointer dates and some triple dates and things like that.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. But this is one of those watches where I was like, oh, it's kind of like a vintage Omega, and I just chucked up on my story, and like, I think 6 people reacted to my story, which never happens. It was like hilarious within the first.
More than I've ever got.
But it needs a full service and everything to get it running.
But it's annoying. Does it have a Cyclops on it?
Instagram can be funny. It does, but it's like under the crystal.
Under the crystal, that's interesting.
But it needs a full service, and I might actually put a new crystal on it.
Right.
If I can find the right part, I guess. But
there you go.
But I bought that from another guy on Instagram. So when I buy vintage, I tend to buy from collectors I know or dealers I know.
Right?
Yeah. I think I always echo the kind of buy the seller sentiment.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really the best way to go. Or buy new.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, also true. But no, yeah, the vintage Omega that I have coming in, I got from a guy off of Facebook that I've seen his posts a lot. I've talked to him a couple times. Yeah. So I know it's going to be a good watch, but we'll see how it goes. If I keep it, is what I mean.
Yeah, I'm the same. I buy a watch and I force myself to keep it for a few months just to see if I like it enough. And then if I don't, I'm like, okay, I'll sell it. But
the shortest I've ever owned a watch was 1 day.
That's impressive. But one of the guys, Ben, who works on this, went like 2 hours. and then he'd sold it.
Wow.
But he goes through watches like crazy.
Right. I say a day because it took a day for someone to buy it.
Oh, right. Oh no, like he listed it within 2 hours and it sold.
Oh yeah, no, same for me.
Nice.
Yeah, I listed it in like a couple hours, but it took a day to sell. It was the Oris pointer date in red.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool watch. It was just a little too big and beefy for me at like 40 millimeters and kind of a thick case or a very stout case. So.
Yeah. I can't wear 40 mil.
I can. It just depends on the case. Like the Seiko that I'm wearing right now is a 40 mil.
I think I'm just so used to like I persuade myself that something looks too big on my wrist, which probably isn't healthy.
No, definitely. No, you get into that mindset when you wear small watches for a long time. If you put on anything bigger, you're like it's the wrong size. It's oversized.
Yeah.
And you do have to wear that bigger watch for a couple hours or even a couple days, and you're like, okay, you know what? I actually like this watch. I like the design. I like the way it feels. It just they fit two completely different purposes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I like my SKX. I'm used to enough that I can just throw it on and it doesn't feel huge.
Right.
But anything bigger than that, I just can't quite. Which is really weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When did you get used to like wearing a watch? We've talked about this before because it's kind of weird throwing a watch on your wrist and having to get used to it.
Yeah, especially if you haven't worn one ever and you're just kind of, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Again, the first memory that comes to mind is when I was in 5th grade with that little skull watch. And for that one, I remember specifically I was having kind of like a battle with my mom about how I'm supposed to wear the watch, like on what wrist. And she was telling me like, oh, you're supposed to wear it on your right hand, and I'm right-handed. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to wear it on the hand I don't use. So I was wearing it on my right hand for a while, and it just felt a little awkward. And then I started wearing it on my left hand, and it also felt awkward. So I just kept it on my left hand, wore it, and then once I got back into high school, started getting back into watches. I just got a watch for my birthday, and then I just started wearing that on my left hand and never took a watch off ever since, basically.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And I'm a fidgeter, so I had to like persuade myself to keep the watch on the whole day. And like
Fair.
I had to make a conscious effort to put it on in the morning. But once you kind of get the bug, it sticks.
Yeah. Especially get into the habit of even putting it on.
Yeah, but then you collect watches and you have too much choice.
Oh yeah.
I will sometimes.
No, I think at the biggest, I probably had a collection of like 15 at one time, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not wearing these pieces.
Yeah, I feel guilty sometimes when there's just like 3 of my watches, and I'm like, oh, I haven't touched them in a week. I was like,
oh yeah,
because I'm very, especially in lockdown, I'm so lazy. I just like grab. Honestly, I've been wearing my CWC a lot because it's quartz, and I know I don't have to set it. And I think my Tudor's been sat in the same place for like 3 days at this point, which I feel bad about.
It's okay. You still love the watch.
Oh yeah, so much. But for that kind of reason, I tend to keep it at like a half dozen watches.
Yeah, for me at this point, I've kind of convinced myself that basically I can have almost 2 collections, and it's basically my mechanical collection and my quartz collection.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that way I can kind of justify having more than I should, because quartz takes less maintenance, it takes up less cost, it lasts longer. So that's kind of what I'm going through right now.
I can definitely. I guess I do that in the kind of. I have my core collection, which is really my Tudor, my Seiko, my CWC, and this Omega.
Right.
And then I have like the watches that I bought to try collection, or like to fix up and then sell, or do whatever. And if I wear one of those enough, it will kind of worm its way slowly into the main collection.
Oh yeah.
Which is what happened with my CWC and my Omega. I bought both of them for pretty good deals and was like, oh, I could probably sell these pretty easily. And then just kind of fell for them too hard, and I was like, oh, I can't sell these. I'll struggle to find another one like that, or
100%. Have you ever bought a watch and sold it and then rebought it?
I haven't. I nearly sold this
Haven't reached that
Omega,
stage. Okay, there we go.
and then I probably would have rebought it. So I'm like very careful. And there's watches I regret selling,
Right.
but
Which I think is natural.
yeah, but I often regret it like 6 months later. I haven't had any like instant regret, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I force myself to keep them for long enough that I can figure out how I feel and why I do or don't like a watch.
Right.
So then if I do regret selling it, I can kind of think back and go, no, this is why you sold it.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with a watch I might sell now. I'm like thinking of selling a vintage Tissot I have.
Okay.
Because it's from 1944, and just like the condition is so good, I'm like, will I ever find another one if I want it back?
Right.
Like in this condition.
No, that Tissot is pretty.
Yeah, and that's that's a real issue with vintage, that you can buy something and be like, oh, they must be common, and then realize they're really not, and be like, uh-oh.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it becomes like, do I keep it because I like it, or do I keep it just because it's cool?
I find this Omega really cool, but sometimes I look at it and go, wait, I don't really like it much. And then I wear it, I'm like, yes, I do. I'm certain this is my most indecisive watch by far.
Right.
It's kind of weird, and I think it depends what I'm doing. Because it's like one of the few watches I baby, because I know it's more complicated and the service would be expensive if I broke it.
Yeah.
And the condition's quite nice, so I don't really want to bash it up more.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I don't know, it's a hard, but like,
it's a cool one though.
Nearly, it looks weird off wrist. Like the case shape looks like it shouldn't work.
Yeah, it's a different. It's non-traditional.
But then on wrist, especially on that mesh bracelet, looks perfectly normal, and like you couldn't really tell that it's. Right. I kind of have a bad habit of looking for a good deal, buying it, and then actually seeing if I like it. Because if I know I could profit, I'm like, oh, I might as well. You know, because any watch is interesting to me, really.
Yeah.
And I do really appreciate the variety of things like that, which is I guess that's part of why I don't like Facebook and how polar people get about watches and how they hate one thing but 100%. Love another. I'd rather, try it all and then decide what I'm going to spend my money on. For me, it's not like
same.
Although I'm kind of brand orientated a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But then I'm doing videos on micro brands because I really find them interesting and I really enjoy them. So, swings and roundabouts, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, micro brands are super unique and I just like them because they offer designs that don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like one of my favorite micro brands is Visitor. And I have a love-hate relationship with that brand basically just because I've owned two of their models, the Linden and the Vale Park Officer. And I believe I've bought the Vale Park Officer 2 or 3 times, and I've bought the Linden 3 times, almost 4 times. I'm still debating on it.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a crazy one because I've gone through different dial colors. I've gone through owning it in different years. I've just gone through selling it to buy another watch or buying it back because nothing else is like it. And it's just in this weird limbo of I absolutely love the design, love the styling, love the look of them. And then when I get it in, I'm like, gosh, I need another piece now, though.
Okay. So you've definitely bought and resold the same thing, even with different dial colors.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
That's probably the most extreme example of my habits. I mean, the only other watch I've really bought and resold is my Zodiac Super Seawolf.
Right.
And I had that watch. The main reason behind me buying that watch was one, it kind of looked very similar in color scheme to the Zodiac Sea Dragon my dad used to have in his little change drawer.
Right.
And which I have that watch now. I just don't wear it too much because, it's kind of more sentimental than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought it because it looked like that watch, and also it was the watch I bought going from high school summer into college.
Cool.
So yeah, it was kind of like my moving into the world watch. And then after a while, I sold it and some other things to step up to a Pelagos.
hmm
And that didn't work out because I was like, man, I like the Pelagos, but it's a little too big. It's a little bit too tooly. And the Zodiac, in my opinion, is basically a little bit dressier leaning, a little smaller at 39.5 millimeters. Wears well. So I just bought that back and pretty much going to be a keeper in my collection.
Yeah, Zodiac does some really great kind of vintage inspired stuff.
Yeah, they experiment with colors a lot.
Yeah, that's really their thing, I think. And I think they're owned by Fossil Group, aren't they? But they seem to kind of have their own. They're kind of just allowed to do what they want, it seems, which is really refreshing.
Yeah, as far as I can see.
And they definitely know how to like please watch nerds with all those vintage colors, like you said. It's really some pretty cool stuff. So you definitely do occasion watches. That's definitely a thing for you, and you're collecting.
Yes and no. I feel like personally that Zodiac was probably the only occasion watch I've ever bought myself. More so an occasion watch will be an excuse to buy a watch.
Yeah.
And like every once in a while I'll be like, oh, I mean my birthday's coming up. I guess I'll buy a watch. My birthday's like 2 months away.
Right.
So more likely I literally just see a watch that I like and then I buy it. Or I've been saving up for a watch. Just depends. Like a watch I hope to pick up very, very soon is the Grand Seiko SPGA 407, which is the blue snowflake.
Nice. Okay, yeah.
And just a gorgeous dial on that one. I just spring drive. You can't go wrong with that. So hopefully I'll have that one soon. I've been saving for that one for a while, but it's taken a while to get that watch. I just keep buying so many other things.
Yeah, I guess I kind of look at my long-term watch goals, and if I have some money saved, I'm like, oh, I might as well buy another watch, enjoy that for a bit, and then sell it on, and kind of, I guess it stops me spending my money, I guess, because all the money's in watches.
Yeah.
And you will be glad to hear, and my parents are very glad, I keep my watch fund and my uni fund completely separate. So there's no no overlap there. I do get to eat nice food.
Because I can't buy a book this time.
Yeah, no, I kind of saw that coming, and I was like, I better not, Sam. So, yeah, I was cautious. Modern watches are interesting because they can be quite expensive, and I don't want to have something like new and shiny on my wrist.
Yeah.
It kind of I know it feels uncomfortable for me sometimes. And I've avoided getting a Rolex because I don't want to be. I know some people say like no one ever notices, but I know my close friends will.
Don't.
Well, some of my close friends do watches, and I'm kind of like,
they will. Yeah, I mean, I owned a vintage Rolex for a while.
What reference? What?
Good question. It was like
what model?
It was a Oyster Precision from like the late 50s or early 60s.
Okay, so 34 mil.
It was 34 mil. It was a hand wind movement. I believe it was like 6694 or something along that vein.
Right. Yeah.
It was really nice. I mean, it had this kind of beautiful cream dial to it. I ended up buying so many 19mm straps because I didn't have any 19mm straps.
Yes.
So, that watch was nice, and I wore it a while, and then eventually I was like, I mean, yes, it's nice. Yes, it's Rolex. I got an amazing deal on it. So I was just like, I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I don't need a Rolex in my collection. I don't need that chip on my shoulder necessarily. So I just sold it, and then I ended up buying the vintage Omega, which I'm still waiting for.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I guess being a student and having a Rolex is a kind of weird. I feel like for me, it's not the right time to get one.
Yeah, I can totally see that point. And I wore my Rolex to classes and to work at college, and not one person noticed. Actually, that's a lie. One person noticed in one of my classes, but he was also a watch nerd.
Yeah.
So I was sitting next to him. He noticed I was wearing a Rolex, and I can literally I saw him throughout it was like maybe an hour class, and for the first 30 minutes, I saw him, casually looking at my wrist every like 5 seconds.
Glancing, yeah.
So then, yeah. So after, halfway through class, I was just kind of like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" And then, we went to this whole thing, and I let him wear the watch for the rest of the class, and then, that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who are really into just vintage stuff in general.
Right.
And they're maybe the most accepting of my watch habit. And they kind of understand, and they'll talk to me about it. And I've often talked to them and gone, they'll be wanting something. I go like, well, what's price range? And kind of, so I've sourced a few watches for friends.
Which is always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to play with other people's money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can be a really fun exercise to kind of take requirements that aren't your own and then try to find something, because it helps you discover a lot of new things as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. For me, I do my YouTube videos, and I do basically, it's like every other week I'll have a new watch, and it seems like. So my roommate that I live with, he basically saw these watches coming in. I would ask him opinions on, what watch do you think looks better. I had to have him try on watches because his wrist size is slightly larger than mine.
Mm-hmm.
So just to see how it would look on a different wrist. And eventually he was like, "You know what? I hate you, but I'm going to need you to find me a watch that's under $500. And I was like, "I got you."
Yeah. It's I definitely have one friend who's sort of kind of halfway through that at the moment. But he wanted a beta watch, and I introduced him to Vostok. So now he's got like the most gnarly old vintage Vostok, and it suits him so well. But I could never wear it. It's just too big and it's just really not refined, and he loves it. I think it's got like
it's a very particular style.
It's got like a TIG weld mark on the bezel, like someone's accidentally hit it with a welder. So it's got stories to tell. I'll have to get a photo of that from him.
That's funny.
But he was very much, when I was really bored, I'd just send him a picture and be like, "I just bought this," or like, I'm considering this or whatnot.
Yeah,
because it's really useful to have someone to talk through purchases with.
Oh yeah.
And now I have group chats on Instagram I can do that in, but it helps if you have some friends. And that's also why like meetups can be great.
Oh yeah.
Because you kind of meet like-minded people and could get different opinions. I'm sure there's lots of meetups where you are.
No, I miss meetups. There are, I'm based out of LA, so it's kind of a general hotspot for just watches and get-togethers and whatnot. So yeah, there used to be watch meetups I went to, it was every month, and now with the whole situation of the world, I can't really go to meetups.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still doing virtual meetups, but that's kind of not my thing. I mean, I can't really see the watch as well. I can't talk to the people as well, so.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to communicate like that. Podcasts work, thankfully. That's
very
we were like, oh, this format still works. We're all right. It'd be really fun to do a live podcast at some point.
Oh yeah.
With the right guests, but we'll just have to wait and see. But where I'm in Birmingham, England.
Right.
And we're like the second largest city in the UK. I think that's true.
Okay.
And we like don't have a red bar, and we don't really have like a meetup.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got there and I was like, wait, do we really not have anything? And we have 3 universities, all of which don't have watch clubs. And I was like, oh, maybe I've moved the wrong place. But there's
honestly.
Yeah. We do have a watchmaking school though, and I've made some friends from there.
Oh, that's cool.
Who are really cool. So my watchmaker who does all my stuff is actually a student watchmaker, and a really nice guy who I can go to the pub with and chat about watches, which is sweet.
Very appreciated, yeah.
But I found him and a few other guys through Instagram. So I think that's really how you start something.
Yeah, it's one of the best tools, definitely. Unfortunately, like not many people on Instagram I keep like regular contact with.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice to, because definitely it's always nice to bounce ideas off of people, just, get nerded out in the hobby, being like sending photos of telling them what your new purchases are, what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
And for right now, my girlfriend's the only one I can do that with, so
I mean, that's a good situation, to be fair.
It is. Fortunately, she's into watches, so
Yeah.
I'm lucky there. But
My ex really
always
tried.
nice to talk.
My ex really tried,
Right.
bless her, but I was like, oh, you're not, don't worry. I was like, that's fine. Um,
I know. I personally don't like when people are so blindsided by the hobby that they just try to like force their partners into the hobby.
yeah.
And I just see these posts all the time on Facebook or something, and they're just, oh look, I got my wife this new present for our anniversary, and it's just this watch, and I'm just like, but is she into watches?
Yeah.
Like, is she going to enjoy that present, or is she going to be like, he got me another watch, really?
I mean, I gave my ex like a vintage Oris because she had independently said, oh, I like that, and I had it in my collection, and it was 32
Right.
mil. And I didn't do it for any occasion because I was like, this isn't going to replace an actual present for her. I was like, I'll just give it to her, teach her how to wind it and wear it. And I think she enjoyed it and she still wears it, which is really cool.
There we go.
But yeah, I didn't want to force the hobby on her. Although, to be fair, I do kind of sit and just talk to myself about watches, I'm thinking. So she had to deal with that.
Same.
Yeah, I'm like, what's wrong? And it's like, oh, I'm just considering whether I sell my vintage Omega. Don't worry. And so
I know.
Nothing's actually wrong. It's just, first world problems.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's a hard hobby for some people to grasp. But
yeah, because you get it's very in your head about a lot of things. You definitely contemplate a bunch of things. You definitely keep going about, oh, should I sell this? Should I buy this? Should I consolidate into this?
Yeah.
And it's definitely just a lot of thinking and going through. And just like today, I came across basically like a grail list of mine of like, oh, these are my perfect watches in the future.
Oh yeah.
And basically, let's say the list was 10 to 12 watches long. Only one of those watches I still like. So it just shows how much things change and how much your idea changes and your collection views change.
Yeah, and taste develop in general. I mean, I was less into vintage when I started, but now I have like vintage jumpers.
Mostly vintage.
Just vintage everything. I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. It has more character to it, and they were made in better sizes.
Yeah, I can't agree with that. Yeah, I don't ever want to force it on, or even on my friends. Like,
yeah,
I have a few friends who are like mechanically inclined, and I find they're the best people to talk to about a watch.
Yeah,
because they'll show the most interest generally. But I don't normally. I don't know, and especially like I don't know if you've like had friends back to your dorm room. And I don't keep all my watches in my dorm, but there'll normally be like 2 or 3 there.
I kept all of them.
Fair enough. I just worry because insurance. But after that happened, because we had a flat party and I let like 1 or 2 people into my room, they then figured out, I was like, oh no, he actually does do watches.
Yeah.
And clearly like has a couple, because I guess we notice if someone's wearing a different watch every day, but general people don't.
Yeah, yeah. It depends. Some people notice more than others. Like for me personally, when I was in the dorms as well, I had a couple of people I would always hang out with, and it was basically one of my friends, his roommate, which I became kind of like friends by association with. He basically was talking about like the first time he met me, and we're just kind of reminiscing. And he was just saying like, yeah, dude, when I first noticed you, I was like, this man's literally wearing a different watch every day. Like, that is a cool guy. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I got a collection, got to, rotate through them sometimes. But no, I found the same thing. It's kind of like the people who lived on my floor for the dorms, basically the engineers, were most interested in my watch hobby, basically.
Yeah. And I guess it just depends how detail orientated people are. Like,
yeah.
My dad
or like fashion orientated.
Yeah. So my friends who like vintage clothes are really interested, and my dad's quite detail orientated, so he's quite interested. But I've always found that female friends notice more. I don't like. They maybe just have a better eye for these things.
Yeah, the only compliments I've ever gotten on a watch were from females.
I've had a girl tell my like a really good close friend tell me mine was too small, which was funny. She was like,
Wow.
"It doesn't feel your wrist,"
Wow.
because her boyfriend wanted to get
A huge Invicta.
no, he's they're quite well off, so I think he's going to get like a Submariner
Oh, okay.
or like a
Okay.
Daytona.
There we go.
And he was like, and she was like, "Yeah, but your watch doesn't feel your wrist." And I was like, "I don't want it to." I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I get that."
That's not what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's not my style, but
I know. Yeah, I personally like it when it doesn't fill the wrist.
yeah, I like to have some room.
Yeah, just looks more elegant.
Yeah, and like when you can't see the strap because the strap goes straight down off the lugs, it's not as cool. And I think it
Yeah.
I don't know, like the whole picture on the wrist looks better.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, wear what you like.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't really matter what other people think.
No,
unless
no,
it's
I think a lot of people get
47mm
too mixed up.
Invicta. What?
Fair enough. But no, I think people get too into their heads about both sizing or what people think or what
Yeah,
watch is the best value for money. And it's just like, dude, if you like it, wear it, buy it, try it out, sell it if you don't like it. I mean, it's not too complicated.
yeah. I'm definitely like that with getting a Rolex, but that's also sort of I guess that's more about what friends will think and like family will think.
Yeah.
But,
I think you should.
yeah. I mean,
If you can swing it, I mean,
I've had to liquidate a few
basically,
things, and I'm like, or I wait and save
yeah,
up, and it's like, I think I'm probably gonna just wait and save up.
yeah, I would wait and save up, and I think you should just because no matter how anyone feels about Rolex, it's one of those brands that at some point, even if you say you don't want to own one, you kind of just want to own one.
Yeah.
And again, I owned one, and then it wasn't the end all be all for me. It was a cool watch, but I had my Rolex, and I can move on.
That's a good
And
attitude to have, yeah.
the only real Rolex that I would want and keep is the vintage 1016.
Oh yeah.
Or they actually made another one. It's called the Explorer 5500.
Yep.
And yeah, it's 34mm Explorer dial.
Yeah.
So that one is even more perfect for me. But that one's complicated because it's hard to tell. It's almost impossible to tell whether or not they're fake because it has to come with box and papers, basically dated from the time period that it was supposed to be made because it's only made for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And most of them that you see are dated to the wrong year, so it's a redial.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Explorer is kind of the perfect watch in my opinion. Not the modern ones because they kind of messed it up, but
I think
in my opinion,
for me, the 36mm, probably 90s, 2000s is what I'd get. Just have something a bit more rugged and with a sapphire crystal. But I love the 1016 as well.
Yeah, I tried to like I believe it's like the 14270 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to like the more modern Explorers, and I tried one on, and I was just like, there's something about how they changed the numerals. They're not as elegant. They're not as flowy. They made it more industrial.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, again, I just leaned dressy, and I feel like the vintage ones were they leaned dressy more than the ones modern do.
Yeah.
So I hate that I like the old ones more because they're like 2 to 3 times the price.
Yeah, easily.
But maybe one day I'll own one. We'll see.
It's all about the chase.
It is. The chase is fun. And then you start chasing something else, and you're like, why can't I ever stop?
It's frustrating at times, but yeah. Yeah, I kind of need a new phone, but then I bought an Omega, and I was like, oops. And I was like, oh,
right.
I didn't persuade myself to sell the Omega. I persuaded myself just to keep my phone for a few more years. I was like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I'm on iPhone 7, but it's being pretty abused.
Yeah,
that's as a student, that's outdated because everyone has 10s and 11s and whatever. But I'm
I have the X personally.
That's probably what I'd upgrade to, but I'm just I'd rather spend my money on watches at this point, which is.
I agree. I mean, I bought mine. I believe the first year of college, just because my other phone broke,
right?
And my parents weren't going to buy it, and I had the money. But I bought it, and I was just like, man, the watches I could have bought for that money.
Yeah,
because I bought it just straight out from Apple. I bought it at full price.
Yeah, that's what I
unlocked, and I was like, man. Could have gotten a vintage Tudor or something.
Yeah. I think I do kind of think of things in terms of watches now, which is bad, but I mean, watches don't really depreciate as much. It's, you know,
also true. But like
vintage.
even for me, like it's bad because once you get into watches, you start having like almost a warped view of money and monetary value.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, oh look, that watch is only $50. It's like it's not too bad. But if like you're only making like $15 an hour, like that's a couple good hours of work, you know?
Yeah.
Even though it seems cheap. And I'm like, man, I need to start putting things back into perspective sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I keep my uni fund and my watch fund totally separate. So watches can be self-sustaining for me at this point, which is really nice. But then also saving up's harder, obviously.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't know. I'm gonna have a job next year, and then
there you go.
I should be all good.
See, I used to have 2 jobs, so technically one of them's kind of still stuck due to the world situation.
Yeah.
But I still have one job, and that lets my watch funds go a little bit more crazy. But I wanted to ask, have you gotten to the phase yet of going crazy with buying a bunch of straps?
Not really. I'm pretty like
No.
There was one point where I bought like 3 cheap straps, all for my Tudor. But then I'm like, I'm very quality orientated, so I tend to just really, really look for the right strap.
Yeah.
So no, I don't actually have a crazy strap collection. I have like enough that if I get a watch in, I can just throw it on something. But so far, no. Surprisingly, I do always I get close to doing it, and then I'm like, I don't know. I just always stop myself, which is good.
That's good. Save yourself from that.
Yeah,
because I think I have like maybe about 72 straps right now.
Jeez. Okay.
It's ridiculous. I was just sitting there the other day because I got this really cool organizer where it's like I hang it on the wall and I can put my straps into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, man, I actually have a lot of straps. And then I started calculating how much money I have in straps, and I was like, wow, I have too much money in straps.
Yeah. It's funny. I think watch accessories are underrated because a strap can be really powerful to change how a watch wears.
100%. Especially if it's a very simple watch.
Yeah. So my Tudor's really easy to kind of dress up or dress down, as I said, with a NATO strap, or it's currently on a nice leather strap. I only really have my Tudor has a NATO strap, a leather strap. My CWC has a NATO strap, and then a Zulu strap, which it came on. So it's got a grey one and a green one. SKX just has 2 bracelets and a rubber. Credit Stop has a bracelet and a leather strap.
Right.
So that's pretty much. And then I've got some old miscellaneous ones which I can throw on whatever watch I get. But I tend to really think before I buy straps.
I try to say I do that, but I really don't. I don't think.
Some people just go and buy 20 NATO straps at a time and just try to try out loads of combos, which is cool. But I think I'm just not that into that.
No, which is great,
which is cheaper, if we're honest.
100%, 100%. Yeah, only recently I've been getting into buying a little bit more expensive straps.
Right.
And the most expensive strap I bought was maybe $125, which is about 100 pounds, give or take. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes me realize that, even though you're spending all that money doesn't necessarily mean it's that much greater quality. I mean, we'll see how it lasts over the long term. But, I feel like kind of the sweet spot for straps is between that $40 and $80 range.
Right. I've got a really nice.
So I have a lot of straps there.
The one on my Tudor is a top grain. Is it top grain? Yes, a top grain leather strap from Perpetual Watch Lover. who's kind of a friend of mine.
Okay.
And that's actually really nice. And I think it was like 25 euros. So
That's not bad at all.
as far as I can see for me right now, that's kind of the most I'll spend. Because I'm picky with quality, but like up to a certain point.
Okay.
I'm not a perfectionist.
I feel like for you, you should try out one of my other favorite micro brands called Vario.
Okay, yeah.
They also do an amazing leather strap, and it's cool because I think it's only about, give or take, $40 regularly, so 35-ish pounds, give or take.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because some of the colors they do in 19, so it can fit on the tutor and
Oh,
whatnot.
sweet. Yeah.
But also, it's really great high quality leather. It has that kind of classic Hermes style Italian grain. And then on top of it, the straps are actually waterproof, or at least water resistant.
Oh, nice.
So they advertise that, but I didn't realize it until I was like drinking some kind of drink, and then it dropped onto my strap and it just beat it up and basically didn't soak in, which was great. And I was like, whoa, it doesn't get affected by the water.
Yeah, I guess that's why I prefer bracelets, because I worry I'm going to mess up a leather strap. But that does sound good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, no, the straps, and they're super comfortable, like right out of the box.
Nice. Yeah, if you actually the strap on this Omega was like £7, just because the style, just the style was so good, and I was like, yeah, it's just cheap, genuine leather. It's actually pretty comfy though. I think it's because it's a rally strap. Yeah. It's made it more malleable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I brushed the clasp because it was super shiny, so I gave it a nice brush finish. Right. And I've worn it quite a lot, so it's broken down nicely.
No, yeah, one of my favorite straps company to get cheaper straps from is Watch Gecko.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, they have pretty good variety, and usually they have a pretty good sales to where the straps aren't too bad. I mean, shipping to the US is always a little annoying, but still fine.
No, shippings and customs can be really kind of annoying. I kind of wish I lived in the US because there's so many more watches for sale there and things like that. But
oh yeah,
there's also quite a few in Europe. Just kind of pick your poison. But no, I actually did. This was kind of bad. Last week I got a little letter through, or like little slip through from the Royal Mail saying, "Oh, you owe like £19 import tax," and I was like, "For what?" I was like, "I haven't ordered." I was like, "I ordered a strap," and I was like, "That's not going to be £19 import tax. That doesn't make sense." Yeah. But once I went in, I recognized the sender. I was like, "Oh, that's my Movado, which is coming from Canada." I was like, "Oops."
There we go.
So I gave myself a little present because I forgot I ordered something.
I've never gotten to the phase where I've forgotten that I've ordered something.
Well, it took a while because I had to go through, international customs, to be fair.
No, of course. But even still, like, there's things that like I ordered a while ago that I still haven't gotten, that I get slightly surprised when it comes, but I'm like, oh yeah, I ordered that. Like, I knew it was coming. But like, for that's just because I've backed a couple Kickstarter campaigns.
Oh right, yeah.
So it's just like, usually they take a while. And this last one I backed, it's probably been over 6 months and I still haven't gotten it.
I've never got into the whole Kickstarter. I don't know. Like, I know watchmakers who want to start their own brands. And I think you can normally, if you have good enough industry connections, you can just do it that way instead of going through crowdfunding. But I guess it just depends on what kind of business you want to run.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I usually only do Kickstarter backing for like more established brands who are just kind of using it to raise the funds more easily.
That's fair.
But every once in a while, it'll be just like a really cool design that you just can't find anywhere else, and I'll be like, I've seen that maybe they've released another watch, or they seem like they're going to be able to do pretty well, so I'll just back them. I've only been burnt once, and the brand doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's what I want.
But I still got the watch.
Oh, did you? Was it just not?
Yeah, I did get the watch. It just wasn't great, It wasn't what I expected it to be. But it was still fun to own for a while. It was like this beautiful green dial, so that was a plus. But just didn't fit all the right, you know, specifications for what I wanted at the time.
Fair enough. Yeah. Just make sure they're not people who are incredibly biased or, you know, compensated by a brand to promote it. Just sort of,
Oh yeah.
you know, look for independent advice.
Yeah, it's always good to get firsthand experience with someone who owns something.
Yeah, I had to agree with that. Anyway, it's been about an hour, just over an hour. That's good.
Yeah, it's been about an hour 20.
Sweet. But yeah,
hour 15.
Thanks for being our first guest. I think it's been a good chat about your collection and how you collect.
Just everything.
Yeah, I think we both have a similar attitude. And I like to think we're both not snobs.
No, try not to be, you know?
Yeah, I really do try not to be. Because I know so many different types of collectors.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice having you on. Hopefully we can do something else in the future.
Yeah, I'd be down.
But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Nice to, always excited to talk watches no matter what it's about.